my sunshine friends, welcome back to another episode as I discuss the issue or one of the issues on this channel of abuse. On this episode I will be talking about what silence does to the abused and for the abuser. No matter your situation or what situation that you're going through, whether it is childhood abuse that you've been through, or if you're going through it, right? A teenager, anything like that, nobody should be touching you where they shouldn't be touching, right? And or it's abuse from spouse or at church, in the workplace. And no, it doesn't matter the kind of abuse that you're going through, whether it's physical, sexual, mental, emotional. When you are silenced or you are silent, right? Or you report it and nobody, the persons who you depend on to do something about it, does not act, then keeping silent does something for the abuser. What does it do? Situation in the Bible, how when there is abuse and there's silence or there's cover up, that what happens for the abuser. So in 2 Samuel 11 and 12, we see David, this king, looking through his window and seeing this woman, sent and called her to find out who she is, right? And we can see in verse 4, well, verse 3 said, and David sent and inquired after the woman. And one said, is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Verse 4 is what I find interesting. And David sent messengers and took her. And she came in unto him, and he lay with her, for she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house. Now, when people keep silence, what happens is the abuser continues to abuse, right? Because they are not called into accountability for their action, then they continue to feel empowered to continue the act on others. This week, I found out that the gentleman who, the man who abused me, and that was almost 30 years ago, but that he continued doing so with other kids in the neighborhood, even in his own household. And yes, he's still walking around. Now that I know that he is alive, I will speak to that on another episode as I prayerfully go through what needs to be done or consider what needs to be done. But let's look back and see, okay, what if those family member who I told acted and didn't cover up, right? What if I back then did not felt so afraid of talking that even though I told two persons, I would have told a third person or a fourth, or continued talking until somebody heard? How many lives would have been spared? The destruction of this gentleman if he was made to be held accountable for his action. So when we are silent, when we cover up abusive situation, then it allows the abuser to continue their act. Consider it. What can you be doing or saying that will prevent the horrid thing that happened to you from happening to somebody else, right? If it's a workplace situation and you, again, cover up, or you do not act in the manner that you should act, what you allow the person to do, whether or not they're still working for the organization or they move on to another organization, because they have not been held accountable, then they are empowered to continue to do the same thing, right? No, yes, there are cases where people are held accountable. They go to prison, or they, whatever happens, um, punishment or consequence of their action happen, you might find them going ahead and doing the same thing again, even after spending 10-20 years in prison. But the reality is that people should be held accountable for their actions, and being silent allows, even if it's one life that is spared from this person's actions, it's one life worth saving. So that's one thing that silence does, or cover up does, for the abuser. It also allows, and I kind of referred to this in the first point in terms of the perpetuation of damage. All right, why should we have 10 kids walking around with not knowing? Like, I am thankful. I consider myself blessed because I'm alive, and not only am I alive, but I am making progress in terms of healing. A lot of people walk around damaged mentally, emotionally, because of being silent, or being silenced, or having situations of abuse being covered up. And the next thing, and even in the story of David, we could see this. We could see the actions that happened. Death. David ended up killing the woman's husband because she became pregnant out of that situation, right? And instead of her silence, for her silence, guess what? He ended up killing her husband, right? Sending him to the front of the battle in order to cover up his situation, right? So how much life can be spared if we decide to break the silence when it comes on to abusive situations? The other thing too is that there are situations where the person who is abusive, when you hear them talking of other people who are doing the same thing that they're doing, they're so judgmental. Look at David, right? In 2 Samuel 12, when he was spoken to and he was given just a little situation or a scenario, when Nathan went to him and Nathan spoke of, the rich man and the poor man and what was happening. David's judgment is he must die. Because guess what? Abusers, right, want to put up this position of justice when it comes on to others. And I see this happening in the church a lot, right? Where people who are abusive, they are the ones when they say, who shall cast the first stone? Where's the stone? Give it to me. And they're ready to throw that first stone. They're ready to fling the stone and fling it hard. Sorry. They're ready to throw the stone on the other person, right? But not looking into themselves, right? So you often find that abusers are very judgmental of other abusers. And it's the same case with David as is here. It says that the man must die until Nathan points out to him and say, you are the one. You are the one. Let's look at what silence does to the abuse. When you are in a situation where you cannot speak, or you have spoken, but the systems that should be in place to protect you do not work, the people that should be there to cover you are not there, then you may continue to find yourself in abusive situations. I can testify to that. And in situations where it's abusive, it's wrong, but because of the doubt and the shame that you have inside of you, you keep wondering and second guessing yourself. And so you might continue in situations and take on what another person would have left. You take it on, or you continue to suffer through situations that you should not have been suffering through so long. the mental impact, depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and the list goes on as to what silence does to the abused. And we sometimes undervalue ourselves. A lot of times we go around undervaluing ourselves, questioning our worth. Alright? But if you're listening to this and you fall in the category of an abuser, look what David did. He confessed. And guess what? Even if you confess, there are consequences to face. We can see it in the situation of David. Right? Stop what you're doing. Stop what you are doing. It's wrong. Confess. Right? And if you are in the situation of the abused, I want to speak into you again. It's not your fault. I did a video on breaking my silence and how I've benefited from that, and speak to it, and some of the things that you can do. Seek help, speak to someone. Alright? And also realize that God values you. You are valuable. And this thing that happened to you, find a way to forgive. Do not wait on systems to allow you to feel whole or allow you to be at a place of wholeness. If I was waiting on that today, I would be mashed in pieces, mash up in pieces, if it was because of trying to get validation from others or from systems or from things that should be in place for protection. Don't wait for that. Find a place, find God who will allow you to understand and to be able to forgive. Now, forgiving a person doesn't mean that they're not going to be held accountable. Alright? Forgiving is really about you and the freedom that you will gain from letting go of the pain or working through the pain. Queen, step into your purpose. My sunshine friends, step out of your pain and step into your purpose is my encouragement for you. Now, please do subscribe, like, and share so that this message of hope can reach others who are going through their pain. I want to pray for you as you draw to close. Dear Lord, I love you. And I thank you for the precious souls who are listening to this right now. God, you know what abuse can do. The hurt, the pain, the anguish. But if somebody has been silenced, if there has been cover-up of abusive situations happening and the person listening to this right now can make a difference, Lord, I want to pray that first you will be with the abused and help them to realize that they're valuable in your sight. Help them to realize, dear Lord, that you bought them with a price that no man, no woman, no system can pay. And that is your blood on Calvary's cross. I thank you for this healing process that I myself am going through. And indeed, it's a process. But I walk each day with you and pray that you will allow someone who is hurting to know that you are right there beside them. Give them your peace. This I do pray and ask in Jesus' name.